Hello. I want to bring awareness to the joys of gentle parenting yourself. It's something that makes me really, really happy, and I love, love, love gentle parenting myself, and I love gentle parenting other people because it just makes me feel really warm inside, and I just do it sort of naturally. And I think I learned to gentle parent other people first, and then over time I became more comfortable gentle parenting myself. And I want to talk about this because I feel like it's one of the most underrated, amazing, beautiful, awesome power that you could utilize that would just make your life feel so much more softer, better, kinder, awesome, and amazing. And yeah, gentle parenting yourself was like one of the best things I've ever learned how to do or just became aware of. A lot of it has to do with self-talk, and I think either I think honestly, I know for me, gentle parenting myself, when learning how to do that was a lot harder than doing it to other people, because for me, it was just easier to treat people the way I wanted to treat myself, I guess. And gentle parenting is awesome. I mean, it pretty much is just like talking to yourself in a kind way and just being nicer to yourself, kind of the way you would as a kid. And I think learning how to gentle parent yourself is so incredibly healing. It heals so many parts of your inner child, and it's sort of, I take it as the act of giving yourself the treatment that maybe you wish you would have gotten more of as a little girl or a little boy or a little whatever. And I think it's so powerful because if anyone ever felt like some part of their emotional needs wasn't really fully met as a young child, then I think learning to gentle parent yourself, it's a really beautiful way to give yourself all of the treatment and talk to yourself in all of the ways you wish an adult would have spoken to you as a young child. And the way it looks like is, in a practical sense, is if you make a mistake, like if you forget to, I don't know, if you forget to lock your door, if you accidentally break a plate, if you do something on accident and you didn't mean to and you notice it, I think gentle parenting for me looks like being like, oh man, I didn't know. Dang, I made a mistake. And then being like, and then first, I mean, oftentimes when you make a mistake, for me, my first reaction is being, oh my God, how could I have done that? That's crazy. I can't believe I did that. But then gentle parenting yourself looks like catching yourself starting that and being like, oh, well, you know what? I didn't know. But you know what? That's okay. I didn't know. Next time, now I know. It's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. It's going to be perfectly fine. And practicing talking to yourself the way you would sort of gentle parent a little kid and teach a young child that, mistakes happen. It's okay. It wasn't the end of the world. You're not dumb. You're not stupid. You didn't know. And kind of just being kind to yourself, positive self-talk. And I know for me, I had to really learn how to talk to myself. I don't want to say never, but I can't really remember growing up having a conversation with myself. And I had to learn how to do that in therapy, because I might be wrong, but I think people either think in words or people think in images. I've always been someone who thought in pictures. So my brain, when I go about my day, when I don't think in dialogue. I don't talk to myself verbally often. I had to learn how to talk to myself in my head. I don't narrate my day. I think some people, that's how their brain works. If you're going about your day, I think some people are like, let me open the computer. Let me type this email. What do I have to do? Oh, at 2:00, I have to go grocery shopping. I think some people have an actual internal dialogue. I've never had that. I've always just thought in photos. So the way my brain always worked was, if I had to go to the grocery store later, I would just think about the image of me going to the grocery store, and that was my version of being oh, I have to go this. Or if I had to like call someone back, I had an image of me thinking about calling someone back. I don't know how to explain it. All I could really say is I had to learn how to like actively talk to myself. And I think this happened last year where I was at my therapist and then I was like, you know what? I've never learned how to talk to myself. And then my therapist was like, well, it's kind of like meeting someone for the first time. Like, like you introduce yourself and you say, hey, this is nice to meet you. And it was funny because that's kind of how it happened. Like, I remember I was outside and I was like, like literally to myself, like I had to be like, well, I'm trying to learn how to talk to you. Like, I want to get to know you better. Kind of like meeting a new person, and you kind of like learn how to talk to yourself and just kind of get used to talking to yourself. And I think nowadays for me, that kind of looks like I don't really talk to myself with dialogue unless I feel like I need to step in to gentle parent myself or I need that reassurance for whatever reason. And I think this might look different for each person. But I think my overarching point is finding a way in which you could incorporate gentle parenting yourself in your everyday is really, 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 really awesome. And it just feels really nice because it just feels so safe and protective. And it feels like, yeah, I mean, in a way, it's kind of like you're practicing being a parent and practicing being a parent to yourself. And you just become, in learning how to gentle parent yourself, like you just become a better friend. You become a better sibling, a better child. You become a better partner in your relationship because then you learn how to talk to someone you're with in a really gentle way. And you learn how to communicate. You learn how to talk to your friends. You learn how to really just spread awareness without you even realizing it of just how to be kinder to yourself and other people. And I can't tell you, like I don't even notice myself doing it, but it just makes me so happy when I get to gentle parent people around me. I just feel so happy because I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm treating people the way that, if they don't, they should be treating themselves. And I'm treating people the way I treat myself. And I'm just like, like you're not dumb. You didn't know. If someone makes a mistake, if someone breaks something, I'm like, no, that's okay. It was an accident. It's totally fine. You don't get as angry because you don't take things as personal because you kind of treat people like, someone who didn't know. Like when a kid makes a mistake, it's not on purpose. Most times they just don't do it because they don't know. And a lot of the times you find like if you make an accident at work, if like you send an email to the wrong person, I mean, it could be a big deal and it could not be a big deal, but the point is you did it and it was an accident, and the way you deal with it really is about the relationship that you have with yourself. And if you send an email to someone you weren't supposed to, being like, you know what, man, I messed up, that was an accident, but you know what, it's okay, it's gonna be all right, like we'll do better next time, that sort of thing. I mean, it could also look like, taking yourself out and giving yourself a treat, giving yourself a reward. Like I joked with my friend one day and I was like, you know what? You should start giving yourself like a sticker whenever you do something nice, And it was a joke, but it was also kind of like, try to figure out a way to kind of positive reinforce things for yourself. Like, so if you go to a workout at 6 in the morning, buy yourself a coffee outside, treat yourself to something nice, gentle parenting. Like gentle parenting is so awesome, and it could just look like there's just so many ways in which you can do it. I think it just depends on your preference and what you like and what you don't like. And I just think it's really cool because it kind of feels like you're role playing a mother, you're role playing a caregiver with yourself and with other people. And personally, I think it's really fun and it's really fulfilling. And it's like one of my favorite things ever. And yeah, I just think it's really awesome. Gentle parenting is just such a powerful, powerful superpower. And even just in the way you approach life, like just being more gentle and like just not being so rough and just saying like, hey, maybe you should do this. Maybe you should try this. Instead of like telling people what to do, like you just naturally, you're more suggestive. You kind of try to guide people, not tell them. It's kind of like spreads, it touches on everything. Like you could just apply gentle parenting to everything. I think even work in your professional career, gentle parenting colleagues, gentle parenting your clients. Like I find like if you incorporate little bits of gentle parenting in your everyday, I think you just gain so much value because people just gravitate towards you more because it feels nice to be treated a little more gently. I think it sort of touches on everyone's inner child, and it takes a lot of practice, I will say, because a lot of it is sort of noticing your judgments, noticing the areas in which you do need some gentle parenting. I know some people, depending on their insecurities and their flaws, you might need some gentle parenting when it comes to perfectionism, when it comes to people pleasing, when it comes to overachieving, being overly competitive, overly organized, when you kind of just do, when you feel like maybe you're being too vulnerable. In any sort of area in your life where you feel like you need a little bit more love and a little bit more support emotionally, I think gentle parenting yourself is a really beautiful way that you can provide that safety and that reassurance and that protective energy for yourself, so then you could show up in the world with more security and more confidence. Because at the end of the day, I think having security and approaching your relationships with security comes from approaching the relationship with yourself with security. And I think that you kind of learn that over time, very slowly, through noticing in all the ways that you can really incorporate gentle parenting yourself. I mean, I don't really see a lot of people talking about it, and I just think it's so awesome. Like, even just like cutting yourself some slack. Like, if you know you're a really hard worker, but then one day you're just really tired, and maybe one day you can't give 110%. Maybe one day you could only give 30%. I think gentle parenting is being, understanding enough to yourself to say, I know you're a hard worker. I know you give your all into everything you do. So I know you're not a lazy person. And I know you're really tired. So I think you should take the day off today and get some rest, because you work so, so hard. You deserve it. It doesn't mean you're lazy. It doesn't mean you're a terrible person. You just need a break. And you deserve to rest. And kind of, yeah, just like having that talk, like something like that is just really great. Or like, I'm going to give you another example. If you feel really anxious an hour before you have to head out to meet up with friends, right? And you're all dressed up, you're ready to go, but then you have this anxiety that you can't describe. And you're like, I feel so anxious. And you're like maybe almost having a panic attack. And you don't know what's going on. I think that's a perfect time to gentle parent yourself, where you just take a moment and you're like, okay, Delia, it's going to be okay. Let's just take a second. Let's take a second and breathe. We don't have to rush. Our friends can wait. Just take a moment and just figure out what's going on. Just feel our body. Let's take a breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Why don't we drink some water? Are you hungry? Let's go get a snack. What's going to make you feel relaxed? Put on some music? Let's put on some music. Let me put on something on the TV. Let's put on something where you can just relax a little bit. I know you got to leave in 30 minutes, but, maybe let's text your friends. Let's let them know that you're going to be a little bit late because you have to take care of something. You don't got to tell them if you don't feel comfortable. But you lay down for a second, just relax, put on a candle, and just breathe and just think about this. We don't have to figure out where the anxiety is coming from, but just see if we want to relax. And then see how we feel in 10 minutes. See how we feel in 20 minutes. All right? Something like that, Like, I just completely made that up. But it's just, whenever you feel a tough situation, approaching it in a soft way and kind of thinking to yourself, like, how would I approach this situation if I was a little girl looking at myself? How would I talk to myself? And looking at it that way. So then when you make a mistake, you're like, oh no, sweetie, it's okay. I know you didn't mean to do that. It was an accident, but now we know. Why don't we do this and this and this to make it a little bit better? And then you just take a minute to breathe and collect ourselves, drink some water, do what we gotta do to feel a little bit better, and then we could just get back up and try again. Stuff like that, And I know to some people it might sound kind of silly, but really, trust me. Once you start doing stuff like this, I feel like the way in which you approach people in life will change significantly. Like, man, I really can't tell you, like I honestly get excited. Like, the thought of just gentle parenting my way through life just makes me feel really excited, because it just makes me feel like just a more mature and more powerful human, where I'm like, you know what? I know I'll be okay and I'll feel safe no matter what I'm doing, because I know that I can take care of myself and I could give myself whatever I need, whatever validation I need to feel okay. So like if you work really, really, really hard on a project, right? You work so hard, you stay up all night working on it, and then you show your boss, and your boss is like not impressed, you know? I think gentle parenting in that situation looks like you giving yourself a good job, being like, you did such a great job. I know how hard you worked, and I know that meant so much to you. Something like that. And even, I'll give you another example. Like nowadays, I'm applying for jobs, and some days I just can't. I just need to have a day where I'm in bed. I need to have a day where I'm watching a movie. And for me, that looks like giving myself a break, being like, I know you're such a hard worker, and you're really trying. Just take a day. Just take a day and relax. It's gonna be all right. It'll make you better for the next day, and then you'll wake up tomorrow, and then you can send that one application if you feel like it, and then see how you feel. And then if you want to send another one, send another one. And you find that the more you're a little more gentle with yourself, the more motivated you feel to do better and to be better, because you're not like working on based on this weight or this pressure, because I feel like when you're sort of going about life with this like very sort of like do this, focus, logical, don't think too much, not really aware of your dialogue, it feels like you're sort of like living life on this like machine like programming, where like you're like a robot, you're a machine. It's all about production and numbers and the time, and it's like you're on this schedule, and it just feels like there's this weight, and then you're kind of like, why do I feel this pressure, this weight, this tensity? I can't relax. I feel so stressed out. And then you don't realize it, but most of the time it's you putting on all that pressure on yourself when you don't really gotta. You can take a little bit of a break. You don't have to give 2,000%. It's okay to give 70%. I think there's this, what I had to learn? I used to be a huge workaholic, and I think a big thing I had to learn was, where I think I read this in a book, or something where it said that no one should be giving 100% at anything. You should not be giving 100%. You know why? Because if you give 100% of yourself to anything, you won't have anything left for yourself. And if you don't have anything left for yourself, how could you possibly keep going? So if you want to use a cup as an analogy, right? You have a full cup. If you give 100% of that water into work, 100% of that water into your partner, 100% of that water into your priorities, you will literally have an empty cup left. And you'll be searching for something to fill it. And then if you don't find anything to fill it, you'll be left burnt out and exhausted. So what I had to learn is give 70%, maybe give 80, 60, but leave something for yourself. Give 50, always leave enough water to kind of recharge for yourself, because you need that. Because if you don't have anything left for yourself, you won't be able to show up as a good version of yourself the next day or the day after that, and then you'll be doing everyone a disservice, including yourself. And I can't tell you how many times I found myself personally in the past where I felt incredibly physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally exhausted, because I would just give 1,000,000% into everything that I did without even thinking about it, because I thought that I was doing a service. I thought I was helping. But I think it's kind of like when you're on a plane, and they said, don't help people unless you put on your mask first, because if you don't put on your mask, then you're not helping anyone. You're dead, So sometimes, in a way, I don't want to use the word selfish because it has a bad connotation, but you have to kind of take care of yourself, because in taking care of yourself first, you're able to take care of someone else, It's kind of like the thing where I know me personally, I don't want anyone doing anything for me unless I know that they're good, So I like to know that someone is taking care of their mental health, So if someone can't do something, if someone can't keep a promise, if someone can't commit to something, and the reason is because of like their physical, emotional, spiritual, mental health, I have absolutely no problem with that, because I think that should be a number one priority. Because if you can't be there for yourself, then there's no way you can be there for someone else. And I think, yeah, it's really, really important to take care of yourself. That's why having a self-care day is really important. Having a bed day is really important. Having a whatever you need to do for yourself day is super important, because, I mean, it's not just, I mean, it is about you, but in it being about you, it's about everyone else, if it helps you look at it that way a lot better. Because being selfish isn't being selfish, it's being selfless, because, like, you doing something for you is you doing something for someone else. So I think that also kind of helps with reframing that, if that's what someone needs to hear. But yeah, like, gentle parenting is just such an awesome skill, like, because it's even like, we're adults now, right? And something I like to joke around a lot is I like to joke around saying how it's so awesome that as an adult, we have adult money to buy whatever we want. So hypothetically, you could buy yourself a birthday cake whenever you want. It doesn't have to be your birthday. It could be, you can eat a birthday cake whenever you want. If you want, you can eat candy for breakfast. If you want, you can spend whatever you want on whatever you want, if you want it, The only limitation we have is ourselves. The only rules we have, really, I mean, obviously, aside from society and your obligations, a lot of the rules we have are the rules we place on ourselves. So if we tell ourselves, you know what, I can't buy myself this thing I want because I can't. It's not something I should do because I'm a responsible adult. And to be fair, there are many situations where maybe you shouldn't. But, I mean, there's also situations where, like, you know what, an extra $10 won't kill you. If like, buying this small little trinket is going to make you happy, just get the small trinket, You're not 10 years old with your mom, and your mom's like, you can look, but don't touch, I know for me, that was, like, a thing where it was, like, growing up, I would be like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. And the answer was always, like, you can look, but you can't touch. We can't afford it, which is totally fair. Like, it happens. But I think the beautiful thing about being an adult is that you can be a little more kinder to yourself. And I know when I learned how to gentle parent myself, I was kind of on the other side of the spectrum where I was like, I have so much free will. I can do whatever I want. If I want to buy this, I'll buy this for my little girl. And then after a while, I was kind of like, well, do I have to buy everything I want? And then my therapist was like, no, but the fact that you're willing to, I think, is enough to heal whatever you need to heal. And I told her, I was like, you know what, you're right. So if I see something that I know that I would have wanted when I was 13, I could acknowledge that, hey, if you want it, I'll buy it. But I don't think we should buy that. But I just want to let you know that I would. And you acknowledging that you would do that thing if you really wanted to, I think is enough to heal that part of yourself. Where it's like, you're not just saying no, And I think a trauma that people can carry is when someone says no too much when they're a kid, and it feels like everything they wanted was approached with a no, 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 no. So then when you're an adult, you're like, don't tell me no, I'll do what I want. And I think a way you can heal that is being like, you don't have to get everything you want, I know I used to be more of an online shopper and a shopaholic, and maybe some of that came from that. But I think just knowing that if I wanted to buy it, I would. If I really want it, I would get it. And sort of like telling yourself, like, how bad do you really need it? Do you really want it? Or can you wait? Like, kind of talking yourself through it and being like, listen, I am happy to get you that thing. But let's think about this for a second. How bad do we really want it? Is it just, do we want to know that I would get it because I would? Or do we really want that in our room? Are we really going to use that? And kind of just talking to yourself that way, Or being like, you know what? How about this? I won't get that really expensive thing, but how about instead we'll get this one of your favorite snacks? And then kind of like doing like that. I hope that makes sense. But it's kind of like, yeah, like, treating yourself like a kid. It's kind of like you play the role, oftentimes you find, with your internal dialogue. There's moments where you find yourself stepping into the role of a child. And then there's oftentimes moments where you see yourself stepping into the role of a parent, being more logical and be like, you know what, let's think about this, the repercussions, let's think about this, let's really sit on that for a second. Then there's the childlike version of you that's sort of like, no, I want this, I want this, I want this. And and can no one tell you no? You're like, I want this and I want it now. And then the adult version of you is like, well, let's think about this. It can't happen right now. Let's just, it's kind of all of that. And you could kind of like play around with it in whatever way it works for you. I know for me, there was a moment or time when I used to go on my notes app and I used to journal this long passage. And anyone who would read it would think I'm a nut job. You know why? Because I would write this long passage of just conversations with every part of myself, with every perspective. So I would write 3 sentences being like, the perspective of my inner child wanting something. Then after that, my adult version would respond to it and say whatever. You know what? Let me actually try to find it. This might sound a little crazy, but trust me, this works. Alright, I can't find it. And you know what? It's probably better because I think it would be, I want to respect myself, my own self, and not maybe should be sharing too much. But yeah, the whole thing was kind of like a stream of consciousness with every sort of thought you have. It's kind of like the play on the idea that you have like a devil on one side and an angel on another side. And the idea is that both sides are you. It's just that this is like your like bad side and that's like your voice of reason, you know? So it's kind of like a play on that where it's like you're writing, playing all of those characters all at once. So in one sentence, you can say, I really want this. Then the next sentence is like, well, I mean, let's think about this for a second. Why do we want this? And then, like, you know, you kind of like start answering and responding to yourself. And I think that's a really awesome exercise to kind of just get out whatever you're feeling and thinking on a paper. And then you find that through just sort of dumping and writing, you figure out the answers you were looking for. And that's pretty sweet. So yeah, something like that I think is really cool because you kind of find that you have just so many different voices in your mind, and sometimes a lot of our troubles could come from, you know, one not agreeing. So the voice of reason sort of, you know, at head with the voice of wanting freedom and free will and wanting to be more spontaneous, but then the part of you that's more cautious and more kind of like, all right, well, I don't know about this, more protective. Then you're trying to kind of find peace with every version of yourself so you could kind of figure out what you want to do. And something that I like to do is I sort of treat my mind headspace as like a team or like and sometimes if I'm having a hard time making a choice, I like to be like, all right, team, what are we thinking? And then I sort of imagine everyone in like a conference room taking notes and presenting their ideas. And then I'm the project manager or I'm the head. And I'm like, all right, guys, we're going to have to really think about this. What do we think? And then everyone's putting out their presentations. So find whatever works for you. And I think that will really help. But overall, I really see gentle parenting as such a beautiful maternal force, especially if that's something that I think everyone really needs or really searches for, that feeling of being cared for and nurtured. And it's such a beautiful thing to step into when you learn how to do that for yourself, when you learn how to be like, it doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, or whatever, like just learning to be that nurturing, protective, motherly, parental guardian for yourself just feels super, super awesome. And yeah, I mean, like I said too, like I know for me, like it took me a long time to learn how to do it. And I think with enough practice, like it could feel really awkward in the beginning because you're like learning how to talk to yourself. But the more you get comfortable with it and you're like, well, it's me, you know, I know me. I'm not like, you know, like it's you, like no one's listening. You're the only one listening. So you could be honest with yourself. You can be vulnerable with yourself. You can, yeah, it's you and you. So yeah, I think learning how to have a really nice relationship with yourself is just really awesome. And it's worth all that stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to hop on here and say that, bring awareness to that. And yeah, I hope it was helpful. So have a solid night.